Hey, 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 today is National Radio Day. That's right, National Radio Day. So, if you're like me and you have a fondness for radio, especially I'm a big fan of old time radio, well, then today should be special for you. Hey, something else special today. It's Monday and the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, and I'm once again your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Thrown off a little bit today because my little opening kind of stay tuned video has suddenly disappeared. It's gone. It's not sitting in a recycle bin or anything like that, so I was like, what's going on here? So, of course, it was too close to starting the show for me to run upstairs and grab a copy, throw it on a flash drive, and bring it down into the Duct Tape Studios. So, the opening's a little off today. Kind of strange. Anyway, so I opened up the show by mentioning that I'm a big radio fan. I'm a huge podcast fan. I listen to quite a lot of podcasts. So there's This American Life, there's Lore, there's Aaron Menke's new one, which is the Cabinet of Curiosities. Listen to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF. But I'm also a big fan of radio and dramatic radio and old-time radio. And I find it interesting. Radio used to be pretty much the internet of the world back in the day, especially the 30s, 40s, even into the early 50s. People always were, pretty much attached at the hip to their radio for the latest in news and entertainment. So, big thank you to radio out there, and keep up the good work, folks. Still working in the medium. It is still a very, very important aspect of our daily lives. Anyway, before I jump into the news today, I do want to mention today is my nephew Cameron's birthday. Hey! Happy birthday to my nephew. He is turning, I want to say he's turning 18? Yeah, he's turning 18. Gosh, that's pretty wild. So it took me a second to kind of carry the one. No, I'm just kidding. So, big happy birthday, Cameron. He is part of the gaming gang and helps me out by playing a lot of titles that I end up doing reviews for. All right, so do want to point out this is a live stream, so chat is available through YouTube. It's not on screen because that's how I keep some of the stranger, trollier sort of commenters at bay. But I do keep an eye on chat, so if you have a question, comment, want to say hello, or you have a question, or want to get a closer look at something from Master Singular of the Galaxy from Ares Games, which I am unboxing and taking a look at today, feel free, chime in, and I will respond. So, I do have to point out that looks like Miss Pinky is down here in the Duct Tape Studios today, and she's making sure that I know she's here. God, it's awfully humid down here today, too. Wow. Get all sweaty. Plus, it didn't help that I was running all over the place right before I started the show. So anyway, let's get on into the news. I've got a bit to dig into. And first off, Relic Knights, the 2-player starter set, is arriving in Q4 of this year. And I've got the dope from Ninja Division, which I know there are a lot of people who are very, very upset with Ninja Division about Rail Raiders as well as Super Dungeon Explorer Legend. But anyway, this is something new coming from them. Masters in Archai, comrades and friends, I bring joyous news. We stand on the brink of annihilation. I'm not sure how that's joyous news. Uncountable stars and endless galaxies have fallen before the inexorable. That doesn't make sense. Advance of the void, and now our people tread the doomed worlds of the last galaxy. We shall soon see the exaltation of the new avatar and the death of this universe is at hand. The universe is dying. One by one, the dark space calamity has consumed the galaxies of our universe. Now only a single galaxy remains, the last galaxy. Only the mighty champions known as Relic Knights can overcome the calamity and save us all from total destruction. Or possibly Flash Gordon, because Flash Gordon's gonna save us all. Every one of us. Relic Knights is a quick and dynamic tabletop strategy battle game that uses finely detailed 30mm scale miniatures to represent your heroes and villains on the battlefield. It uses a card-based system to represent Esper, the energy which binds the universe. Players draw and use this Esper to unleash devastating attacks and cunning counters upon their foes. The Relic Knights 2-player starter set is the perfect entry point to Relic Knights 2nd Edition. It provides you with the complete rules, 2 armies, and an easy-to-assemble battlefield, letting you play right away. Relic Knights 2nd Edition is a vibrant and colorful miniature skirmish game designed by Soda Pop Miniatures. It features new streamlined rules by game designer Justin Gibbs and captures frenetic action and over-the-top mayhem like no other miniature game on the market. It will be fully supported by Ninja Corps volunteers, multiple expansions, and a stunning line of new resin miniatures. The Relic Knights 2-player starter set is for, obviously enough, 2 players, ages 13 and up, and plays in around 60 minutes. I believe you could probably play with 4 players, just kind of divvying up the teams a little bit. The game will carry an MSRP of $99.99 when it releases in Q4. So I guess the less I say really about Ninja Division, the better for me. I know a lot of people are very upset by the interview that I did with John Cadici from Ninja Division at Gen Con. It's like, sorry folks, I can't tell you enough times that if I was aware of the Kickstarter problems, I would have asked John about it. But I wasn't aware. So my apologies. A lot of times people don't realize I follow hundreds of companies, and there are hundreds and thousands of games that are kind of bopping around out there. I can't keep track of every failed Kickstarter. So my apologies on that. Anyway, there's a pretty cool looking title releasing at Spiel in Essen this October, and it is Martin Wallace's Lincoln. And I've got the dope from Worthington Publishing. Lincoln is a fast-paced 2-player, light card-driven strategy wargame set in the American Civil War that allows you to refight the entire American Civil War at a strategic level in under 2 hours. Gameplay uses point-to-point movement and area control, hidden army strengths, and decks of cards providing the command choices and luck. There are no dice. The Union and Confederate players each have their own card decks reflecting the relative strengths and weaknesses of both sides. The Union player must do all the running to win the game by the time they have cycled through the Union card deck for the 3rd time, having accumulated the required amount of victory points by capturing Confederate-controlled areas, as well as squeezing the Confederate player with a naval blockade. The Confederate player must hold on and thwart the North's victory ambitions to win. Each time the decks are cycled, the Union player adds some better quality cards, becoming stronger as the game progresses, whereas the Confederate player adds lower quality cards, becoming weaker. The underlying game mechanism is one of deck destruction, rather than the normal deck building. Cards have multiple uses and can be recycled if used one way, but during the course of the game, you have to decide which cards are going to be permanently sacrificed from your deck cycle to allow you to build units. Lincoln is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 90 minutes to 2 hours, and the game will carry an MSRP of $45 when it arrives later on this fall. Even though this is an Essen release, I do think that we should be able to see this from Worthington Publishing, maybe November, late October, or early November, something like that, because it is coming from an American company. Worthington Publishing is an American company, so fingers crossed on that. Do want to mention, I had heard through the pipeline that the original design, there was a flaw And as those of you who play Martin Wallace games already know, there's always like one mechanic that's sort of wonky, not necessarily broken, but usually just kind of different, that doesn't seem to like really mesh with everything else. But my understanding is that the original design had a flaw where it made it pretty easy for the Confederates to win. They had specific conditions, and it was very, very unrealistic. So I do understand that there has been some more playtesting that has been done. There's been some tweaks, and I believe that has been ironed out. So pretty cool. This looks really, really interesting. This would really be up my alley because I am a huge American Civil War buff. In fact, years ago when I was a teenager, my dad and I toured a lot of the Civil War battlefields, and one summer for our vacation, and it was amazing. I loved every minute of it. So very, very cool. So be on the lookout for Lincoln this fall. Do want to point out there's a Kickstarter that's going to wrap up tomorrow that is pretty cool. It's from Gray Fox Games because they have an all-new edition of Richard Lanius's Run, Fight, or Die up for crowdfunding. And I've got the dope. Back from the dead and better than ever. Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded is a revamped and refreshed edition of the Richard Lanius game Run, Fight, or Die. In the game, you play a hero trying to survive wave after wave of zombies coming straight for you. You play as a unique character with your own character traits, including a minor, major, and super combo. Excuse me. You'll need them to fight off the zombies as they move closer to you every round. You run from location to location, searching for weapons and survivors in a desperate attempt to stay alive. Survivors may bring new skills to help you in your desperate fight for survival, or in some cases, new challenges to overcome. You'll also need them along if you want to win, as every survivor provides you victory points. This streamlined version removes several decks from the original game, including the fleeing deck and event deck. Players' rolls of 6-sided dice instead of 5, I should say 6 dice, not sided dice. There are 6 sides to the dice though. And there are now different combos to mitigate against tough zombie-filled rolls. Additionally, players can now use followers to soak damage coming in from zombies. The game ends either when the third infected survivor comes out of the follower deck, or when the town line comes out of the locations deck, or when one player dies. Whoever has the most victory points among surviving players wins. Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded is a frantic first-person experience for 1 to 4 players. It will actually play up to 6 with the 5 or 6 player expansion. So, Gray Fox Games does have a video, which unfortunately, I only have a couple of images to share with you because most of the images available are these big, long, you know how these Kickstarter images are now, where it shows everything. Pretty hard to break those down, but there is a video. It's about 2 minutes in length that's going to show you all the goodies from Run, Fight, or Die Reload.
You thought everything had returned to normal, that the threat was gone, that the world was fine. You were wrong. Something has reawakened the undead, and once again, you must band together with those uninfected few to find a way to survive. Welcome to Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded. This new edition of Richard Lanius's Run, Fight, or Die is an immersive, push-your-luck game where you must fend off wave after wave of hungry zombies while assembling the best crew possible to guarantee your survival. Map your way to locations, then strip them of their loot, but be mindful of their risks. Search for followers with varying skills to increase your odds, or shove them into harm's way when the going gets tough. Take out zombies with melee weapons or firearms as the never-ending horde closes in around you, or simply run to buy yourself more time and to get the mindless mob to lock on to some other unlucky person. The apocalypse is here. The infection, it's spreading. But the town line is close, and all you have to do is make it out with the best crew to outlast the zombies again. How will you face the danger before you? Your options are clear. Run, fight, or die.
Run for or Die Reloaded is for 1 to 4 players, and of course, up to 6 with that expansion. It's for ages 10 and up and plays in around 20 to 40 minutes. The project is nearly 1,000% funded and does end tomorrow. You can reserve a copy of the core game and all unlocked stretch goals at the $49 pledge level, and expected delivery is April of next year. Do you want to point out? Let's see, I think I can reach it over here. I like the original Run, Fight, or Die. It's fun. I can see why they streamlined it a little bit with Reloaded, but we definitely did enjoy playing Run, Fight, or Die. Used to have a review of it on the Gaming Gang. It was a written review, and it was one of the reviews that somehow got lost when we migrated over to a new hosting, which I didn't realize had happened until a few years later. I think there's about 40 to 50 reviews that disappeared. But really liked it. So you only have until tomorrow to back this. And at $49 with the unlocked stretch goals, that's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal, because as I mentioned, we really enjoyed the original. So do want to point out, Drew Barbier's popping in chat saying hello. Howdy, Drew. Good to see you swinging in. And as always, he's one of our regulars, usually tuning in the afternoons to see what's cooking on the show. All right, moving right along. Let's see. So Drew's before I move along, Drew is asking, would I say it's good with 5 or 6 players? I kind of need some games of that play count, and that might be enough to back this one. I did not play it with 5 or 6. The original is for 1 to 4. I don't know if Gray Fox released an expansion with to increase the player count. To be honest, this is the only game I've ever reviewed from Gray Fox, but we really liked it. I would think it should play fine as far as with 5 or 6 players. Your playtime's just going to increase a little bit because most of the time you're rolling dice and you're trying to kill the zombies that are on your board that keep moving closer to you. And sometimes you can take some of those zombies and put them on another player's board, things like that. But there's not a lot of confrontation in the game. Most of the time you're kind of focused on your own problems. And one of the aspects I really liked about it is that as you're collecting survivors, some of those survivors are really helpful to you, and some are like a complete pain in the butt. But the ones that are a pain in the butt are worth more victory points. So I like how that kind of evens out. So, but as far as more than 4 players, I think it would play about the same. So yes, I would say it should be worth looking at and considering backing. But I don't know if I don't think the expansion is a stretch goal. I think the expansion is an add-on, so you would have to take a peek. Okay, so my final news piece is from Onyx Path Publishing because they've released the 20th anniversary of Wraith, the Oblivion, and I've got the dope. All the stories they told you about what it would be like after you died, they were wrong. There is no heaven and there is no hell. There's only the underworld with the ravening maw of oblivion at the bottom and the impossible dream of transcendence at the top. And in between, all the restless dead. Are you ready to join them? Wraith of the Oblivion is the storytelling game of passion and horror. Take the role of a ghost whose unfinished business won't let them rest. Isn't that usually why they're a ghost? Protect the things you love in the lands of the living, or travel into the deeper underworld to become a citizen or an enemy of the ancient empire of the dead. Learn the forbidden arcanoi, ghostly powers that can terrorize the living or wreak havoc on the dead. Fight the pull of oblivion, the endless void that seeks to drag everything down into it, and come face to face with its corrupt specter servants in an endless labyrinth filled with nightmares. Walk the streets of the eternal city of Stygia, where the crumbled monuments of antiquity rise one after another, 1,000 destroyed cities blending into one. Set sail on the never-ending storm of the tempest with a wordless ferryman at your side, or seek the legendary far shores where it's said that every wraith can find peace and contentment. So don't go into the light. You've got more interesting things to do in the underworld instead. 20 years ago, White Wolf published what many have regarded as their darkest, bleakest, and most mature gaming achievement. Largely disconnected from the rest of the world of darkness, yet tied to it by fetters of unresolved issues from their lives, the characters also had to face the compelling whispers of their own dark sides, their shadows. This 20th anniversary edition of Wraith the Oblivion returns to that darkly compelling world, and both compiles and completes the concepts of the previous two editions. Led by legendary Wraith the Oblivion developer Rich Dead Guy Dansky, our writing team consists of Wraith veterans like Bruce Baugh, Lucien Solbin, Jackie Casada, Nikki Ray, and Clayton Oliver, as well as familiar names such as Charles Andrew Bates, Matthew Dawkins, and Lillian Cohen Moore. And they, one and all, dedicated themselves to making Wraith the Oblivion 20th Anniversary Edition the most playable edition yet, while not losing the incredible depth of setting and emotion that Wraith is known for. Right now, you can score the 571-page book. Yes, no joke, 571 pages. You can get it in hardcover, starting at $59.99, or in PDF for $29.99 through Drive-Thru RPG. So, as I always mention, when I'm talking about role-playing games that are available at Drive-Thru RPG, we are an affiliate, so if you are going to swing over there, please stop by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our drive-thru banners, and if you happen to make a purchase, we will get a small portion of that sale. And all those little pieces add up and help keep the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope around. So I have to point out, I am not familiar whatsoever with Wraith the Oblivion. Sounds pretty dark, sounds very mature. There is some artwork that I was like, ooh, I don't think I can really share that. Not that it was completely gross or anything, but there is a little bit of nudity there. So yeah, I know this has been a very popular setting from originally White Wolf. Now it's Onyx Path, but yeah, pretty bizarre. So if you're into that kind of thing, you may want to check it out. So I'm a Cthulhu fan. I think everybody knows I'm a Cthulhu fan. That's sort of my kind of horror. I don't know. I have never run anything like Wraith. You know, it was funny. I was very, very familiar with Vampire the Masquerade when it came out. I had a lot of the splat books and things like that. Interestingly enough, I never ran it. I did cherry pick some stuff out of it to include in my Call of Cthulhu games, but yeah, so pretty cool, pretty nice. Nice to see that all of the I think Onyx Path has pretty much released 20th anniversary editions of all the major books that came from White Wolf. I think the major ones. I think there's a couple sort of minor systems that they probably haven't gotten into yet. Okay, so I am going to dive into Master of the Galaxy in just a couple minutes. Did want to talk about what's on the agenda for this week, actually moving into next week, some of the actual kind of standalone videos that I'm going to try to shoot. This past weekend, did get some gaming in. I got to play Black Orchestra from Starling Games, as well as Everdell. I got to play quite a bit of Everdell, so that was very cool. I was also able to finish up a bunch of my Gen Con interviews, which I had not been able to get to. So I had, I want to say 20 interviews total from Gen Con. I only have 3 left. So I did get, I want to say like 8 interviews up over the weekend as well. So I've got my Michael Coe interview from Gameland Games. I've got Danny Lowe from Renegade Games Studio. I've got Lily DeSisto from Cosmos Games. Who am I missing? Oh, I've got Dominic McDowell from Cubicle 7. I've got Graham Davis, which I had already shared the video of the talk that he gave about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, but mainly the Enemy Within campaign. So I actually interviewed him over at the C7 booth, so that's up. And then I've got some Ulysses North America interviews where I talked to Bill Bridges about Fading Suns, talked to Daryl Hayhurst about Torg Eternity, which I'm a big fan of that series. I am really looking forward to the Living Land stuff. And also, I talked with Russ Watson. Why did I almost call him Watkins? It's Ross Watson, slap, about Warhammer 40k, Wrath and Glory, mainly what's on the horizon, what's coming up in the wave of other stuff outside of just the core book, which I have, and I have started to dig into too, so pretty sweet. So all that stuff is up, so very, very cool. Hopefully today I'm going to get to finish up my interview with Jim Long from Ares Games and get that up. I'm not positive I'll have a chance to do that because, as I mentioned, today's Cameron's birthday, so we're going out to dinner. So not sure what might be going on. I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. But I know my last 3 interviews with Jim Long, then I've also got Jason Bremer from, oh my gosh, what is it? It is Play Fusion, isn't it? Yep, Play Fusion. And then Stephen Bonacorn from Stronghold Games was my last interview of the show. So those will be up this week, early in the week too. All right, so anyway, so I started talking about, so what's on the horizon for the show. So tomorrow, I'm changing things a little bit from what I talked about last week, because tomorrow I'm actually going to review Everdell. I'm going to review the collector's edition of Everdell from Starling Games. It's very cool, and when you have it up on the table, I'm trying to make sure I can actually make this look cool, because you really got to see this setup for the game to really appreciate it. So I'm going to review that tomorrow. I'm going to be stacking things up all over the place right now. Okay, then on Wednesday, I'm going to unbox and take a look at Brawling Battleships, the World War I naval strategy card game from Lost Battalion Games. I'll be doing that on Wargame Wednesday. Thursday, I always do RPGs on Thursdays. So, yeah. I was like, wait a second, did I tackle Tuesday? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do Everdell tomorrow. Duh. So Thursday, I am going to take a first look at Outbreak Undead, the Survivor Guide from Hunters Entertainment and Renegade Game Studios. So that's on Thursday. On Friday, I'm going to take a look at Archmage. This is another Starling Games title. This is supposed to be, if I remember correctly, Brennan Noonan told me that this is kind of their meatiest game that they've got. It's a fantasy game. It looks pretty sweet, so we are going to dive into that. Then on next Monday, I'm going to dive into Legends of Andor, which I know this has been out for a few years. I think it's been out like 2 years. But it is the first opportunity I've had to check out a game from Cosmos. So I'm going to dive into that. So there is tons and tons of stuff that is on the horizon. I'm going to maybe do some unboxing videos that are standalone. Might actually do some reviews too, because I still want to get my review out there for Fort Sumter, the Secession Crisis 1860-1861 from GMT Games, designed by Mark Herman. I'll give you a kind of a hint. I like it, but I don't understand why some of these other reviewers out there are going like hog wild over it. I think it's good. I don't think it's fantastic. And I do want to get my thoughts out about that. But I've finally got Mystic Vale, which I have actually done unboxings for some Mystic Vale expansions without having the core game. So Mara over at AEG was super, super sweet. Really cool. Really, really nice when I met her at Gen Con as well. She did get me a copy, so I'm going to unbox this and we're going to finally look at the core game. Hopefully I'm going to get a chance to play it. I have played the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Champions trading card game. I have played this a few times. I've played it with Cameron, and I've got a couple of decks that I have not opened up. We've been playing with 2 other decks. So I'm going to kind of open these up, show them off, and actually review the game as well. So that's on the horizon. I've got the little expansion for Terraforming Mars, Prelude. So we're going to take a look at that. I've got Dungeon Rush from Stronghold Games that I'm going to do a quick review of. That'll be coming. I just got, in fact, I might try to shoot something solo or standalone maybe tomorrow for the Dungeons & Dragons Adventures Outline coloring book. Yes, it's a coloring book. It's actually in stores tomorrow. It is in some hobby stores right now, but it will hit other stores tomorrow. I've got Samurai Jack, Back to the Past from USAopoly. I've got Cthulhu Tales from Cubicle 7. I'm telling you, I've got a bunch of stuff. If you watched last week, you already saw that War Chest showed up. I want to say this showed up Friday before I started the show, just as I was getting ready to head down into the Duct Tape Studios, start recording, start streaming. This showed up, so this looks pretty cool. It's an abstract war game from AEG. Speaking of AEG, I got more goodness. Because the Captain is Dead, Lockdown arrived as well, so I'm going to be taking a peek at that. Oh yeah, they just keep coming. I've got Doomseeker from Games Workshop and Ninja Division. This is really the game that I stopped by to talk with John Kadichi from Ninja Division about, and kind of started the big thumbs down on that video because, as I mentioned, I didn't know about the Super Dungeon Explorer Legend Kickstarter, or the people are still waiting for the Rail Raiders. Then, more Stronghold Games action with Fists of Dragonstones, Tavern Edition, which is the Great Designers Series number 10. So I've got that, and then I also have, now I've got more than I'm showing off right now. It's just, I don't want to spend 20 minutes just, lifting up games and showing them off. But one game that I am really, really looking forward to checking out, and I know it's been out for a bit, it came out last year, but it's The Thing, Infectionat Outpost 31 from Project Raygun, Mondo, as well as USAopoly. So very, very cool. That is just some of the stuff on the horizon. Then I've got some RPGs that we got to take a look at and get some reviews on. I did do some reading, some RPG reading over the weekend as well. I was digging into Kids on Bikes, Overlight, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition, which is like the preview. I was kind of checking that out, as well as the Warhammer 40K Wrath and Glory core rules. So I was kind of switching off back and forth, just kind of, getting a feel for them. So I'll have more coverage of those on the horizon. Although Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I want to get a physical copy of the book. I'm hoping once that comes out, and I think it's supposed to be September, that Dominic and the gang over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment will actually send over a physical copy so I can show that off and do the review based on that. All right, so I've been babbling on and on and on. So I know folks are tuning in because they want to see Master of the Galaxy from Ares Games. All right, I'm going to tell you right off the top that I am going to completely mispronounce these names, so apologies right up front. But it's designed by Timofey Bokarev, Timofey Bokarev, and Konstantin Slevnev, with artwork provided by Anton Vasavarov. Yeah, sorry. Like I said, I am way off on those. I know it. The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, and plays in about 45 minutes to 2 hours. Of course, that's probably going to be based on number of players. Master of the Galaxy is arriving in stores this month. It's supposed to be hitting the end of this month, and it does carry an MSRP of $49.90. All right, let me wet the whistle here. All right, and then we'll move over to the other camera. Yes. So, we got Master of the Galaxy right here. Pretty good sized box. It's got some heft to it as well. So, first off, all right, where's the old hobby knife? Where's the hobby knife hiding? Huh, weird. Where in the world did it go? I have not been using it, so uh-oh. Guess we're gonna have to use something else. See if I can use this cap from this pen. That is very weird. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the cats has been up here and probably knocked it down and sent it onto the floor someplace. That would not shock me. All right, so I'm going to put my reading specs on here. Master of the Galaxy, a fast-paced 4X board game of space empires. The galaxy is vast, rich, and open to any species who discovers space flight. But 9 elder races are expanding through space, ready to assimilate or exterminate anybody who stands in their way. Bring your space civilization to the heights of galactic might. At the start of your conquest of the galaxy, you own your home system, 1 species card, and a modest supply of resources. During the game, you will settle planets, discover new technologies, recruit leaders, build interstellar routes, establish governments, and of course, wage space wars against your opponents. Develop your science, spread your people across the galaxy, exterminate your rivals. All means are good if you are the winner. Cool beans. So let's get this on open. Let's see what we've got. All right, so we've got the Ares Games catalog here. Then we got the rule book. So this is from Igrology and Ares Games. So let's take a look to see what we've got in the rule book here. We've got the introduction, got the game setup, showing us the kind of the star map here, the board for the game. Got black holes, drawing cards. Of course, this is going to be kind of a Euro-style game, it looks like. The goal of the game. The first player to achieve galactic supremacy is the winner of the game. There are 3 ways to achieve this. Expansion. Place all 9 bases of your color on the game board. Domination. Collect 5 identical supremacy symbols on your cards and systems. Conquest. Capture a second starting system by establishing your base on it. Talking about the supremacy symbols here. Cultural, economic, diplomatic, scientific, and military. Showing the resource types, we have scientific resources, economic resources, industrial resources, military resources, and administrative resources. So, phase 1 is gain resources. Phase 2 is allocate resources. Let's have settling planets, establishing a route, constructing a space base, placing a space base, receiving a card, implement a development card, irretrievable losses. Certain resource slots are marked with a black star. These slots are filled with resources as usual. However, when you remove a cube from a marked slot, you discard it instead of returning it to your bag. Fulfill an agenda, steal resource, special abilities of governments and leaders, taking part in conflicts, conflict cancellation, Phase 3, discard and use your cards. So it's talking about initiating a conflict. Abilities triggered by discarding cards. Gaining resources. So you're going to get resources too at the end of your turn? Because it looked like, yep, gain resources start the game, and gaining resources to end your turn, I should say. Talking about the end of the game, advanced drafting variant, and then project tables. Alright, so not too shabby. I mean, what are we looking at? What was it, 14 pages? No, 18 actually. But I mean, there's a lot of images here, so, and the font is pretty large. So we're really not looking at a whole lot of rules here, so probably fairly easy to wrap your head around. Looks like we've got 4 player aid cards, maybe? Yep, so it's showing us how to win, the card type icons, how to get cards, how to get resources, how to get supremacy symbols. Cool. So we've got that. Then it looks like we've got punch boards here. Looks like this might be tracking everyone's different levels, maybe? Kind of like science. I don't know. Science, maybe economy, maybe military. And we got these other circular discs here. Got some skulls. So I'm not sure what these represent. And these are dual-sided. But I'm taking a guess this is probably a board that you're tracking all the players. Maybe you've got like cubes of particular colors for each player. That's a possibility. All right, we've got the board, which I don't believe the board is really large. This is the... It's like this might be the bottom half or top half. Oh, look pretty similar. So this is one half of the game board here, and that is the other half of the game board. And I'm taking a guess that these are probably roots, probably space roots here. These are maybe space roots as well. The different squares here. Then we got the arrows. Although the arrows are showing these icons as well from this tracking board right here. As you can see, like, here's this one here. Is actually right there. Got the dove right there. So, all right. So that is the board. Now we're going to start getting into a lot of the components. So we've got the draw bags for the different players, which I believe is where your resources end up going, is into your draw bags. So we've got 4 of these. So we've got purple, orange, almost like an drab olive, and kind of brown. Then we've got, these look like kind of like space bases. We've got like a little, yeah, let's open it up. Let's open this up and take a closer look. So we've got like these pyramid shapes. Then we've got what looks almost like a base or a colony. And then we also have, these almost look like globes. So these are the 3 different markers for each of the player colors. So we've got it in orange, purple. These are more gray than like olive drab. And the brown. And of course, these color selections are to make the game colorblind friendly. So then we've got the cubes, blue, clear. Kind of dark gray, which I think these are supposed to represent black. Got red. And I think I already mentioned yellow. Okay, and then we've got the cards here. So we got conflict cards. I'm going to take a guess. We probably have a few different decks. And of course, this is normally where I would be busting out my handy-dandy hobby knife, but thankfully there was a little bit of play with that plastic wrap here, so I'm able to get that open. So let's see what we've got. So we've got conflict. There we go. Got species. Progress. Leader. Quite a few of these. Government. Expansion. And commerce. So I do believe that there are, what were they? I believe it said there were 9 species. So I'm going to take a guess that you're probably going to deal out these randomly, or, you know, of course, you could probably pick a species, but this will be the player species. So we've got humans, rocks, look like they're bird people, myrmecoids, they look like they're insectoid types, Shabazi, I don't know. It's a pretty bizarre looking creature. Yclops, Eclops, Chrysalides, Cybreds. So we got like robot types or cyborg types. Zong, who look pretty human to me, and Omok, almost look like rats. So, and it looks as if they're going to have different starting abilities for the species. So we've got the species there. And we've got conflict. So we show it says a peacekeeping mission, crusade, terrorist attack. I would take a guess you're probably going to go through the deck and choose what you're trying to pull off. Special operation, war for resources, total war, military coup, civil war, and an ideological war. Okay. So we've got those. We got commerce. We've got mercenaries, Guardians Guild, Space Exchange, the Peace Charter, Galactic Council, Trade Alliance, the Monolith, the Black Market, and a pirate fleet. Okay. What we got as far as expansion here? Space Shipyard, Nano Assemblers, Migration Center, Death Spores, okay. An artificial planet. Food synthesizers. Jump gates. Are we going to see a Dyson sphere? Combat biomorphs? No. And terramorphs. So we got those. Then we've got government. So we've got a democracy. We've got a dictatorship. Theocracy, a monarchy, anarchy, imperium, a federation, a union, and a confederacy. So I wonder if you're going to actually select your government to start, or if maybe this is another random sort of thing here. And we got leaders. Let's take a look here. So these leaders look like they're all different races. Cthulhu? Is that supposed to be like Cthulhu? And as you can see, they each have like a special ability. All right, that's kind of bizarre looking. I like the artwork. The artwork's cool. Hey, hi, I'm Magi the Cheater. Huh. So we got a bunch of different leaders here. This looks interesting. And it doesn't look like it's super difficult to get into. So, nice. Gandalf of the Stars. For a second I was like, does that say Gandalf? Abar the Red. Vekhar the Robber. And Woody Condor. Everybody's favorite, Woody Condor. And then we should have the progress cards. Let's see what we've got. Not a lot of progress cards, but spy drones, Galaxy Net, Ancestral Archives, Celestial Negator, Orbital Mainframe, Military Robots, the Colossus. Okay, that's pretty wild. What is that, supposed to be like the Death Star almost? True AI, and the Astro University. There you go. Okay, so we've got the progress deck, the leader deck, the government deck, species deck, conflict deck, expansion deck, and commerce deck. So we've got all the various decks of cards. We've got the different colored cubes. We've got the pyramid, the little base, as well as the what looks almost like a globe for each of the 4 players. Got all the various colored cubes. We've got the 4 pull bags, or draw bags, I should say. We've got the board, the game board here. And we've got the 1 punch board with the counters. And it looks like these are popping out pretty easily. The 4 player aid cards, as well as the 18 pages of rules. And that is what we find when we take everything from Master of the Galaxy outside the box. Looks interesting. I am intrigued. I am certainly intrigued to take a peek and get this to the gaming table. All right, as I mentioned before, Master of the Galaxy is arriving in stores this month, and it is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, and it does play in about 45 minutes to 2 hours, and it will carry an MSRP of $49.90. So stay tuned. I will have a review of Master of the Galaxy in the very near future. All right, so that is it for today. So remember, tomorrow I will be reviewing the collector's edition of Everdell from Starling Games. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Well, by now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.